so this time, let's see if I have my setup properly set up again. So I got a slightly new setup. I think everything is lined up. So now what I'm thinking is I'm going to continue trying to mix together the different things here. I feel like I'm transitioning into like busy season. I'm going to switch to accounting stuff again soon. So I'm kind of like, which I'm actually kind of excited about because I don't have to really do taxes. I just do the teaching of it. So I'm gonna have to. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna try to noodle around a little more, but use the worksheet to try to blend multiple items together. So I'm thinking this time, what I'll play with today. So this is I have on the bottom of the screen here, or in the middle, I guess, is the one that has the nodal points on it. And so I've been doing kind of like the blues thing, where we're in the key of A major, I guess an A major blues, but I think of it basically as an A mixolydian or A minor, basically what I'm typically playing in with with adjustments. So now I'm thinking it'd be interesting to like look at it from multiple different angles. So yesterday I was thinking that I'd be playing like an A, and I was going back and forth between the A mixolydian, which is this one. So it's the key. It's a collection of notes around the key of D, and then I have the mirror down here, so I can see the distance up top. So the distance is up on this area, if you could see my cursor, and then this is where I'm actually going to play on the nodal points, where I think it's as clean to see as possible, working on absolute nodal points, which I think is actually a more efficient way to navigate the fretboard. So I was doing that, and I'm saying, so in that case, you would be on nodal point number 5, because I'm thinking of it as mixolydian. And then what I'm going to do, and if you're looking at it from that perspective, then what I want to do is I want to flat the third to make it bluesy, right? So I already have the flat 7 in there, so I kind of just want to mess with the third to make it more bluesy. And then when I go to the next note, meaning if I go if it's an A blues, then typically you're going to play the mixolydian node or an A, and you can see the L shape here. So it's here like this one, like this node, and then this node, and then this node. So underneath it, I would have this node. So the three nodes from the perspective of the mixolydian would be 5 mixolydian. Under it would be 1, which would be the Ionian. And from a note standpoint, that's going to be then a D, right? And then we're going to go over here to the Dorian, right? So that's going to be the 3, which would be an E, right? So those would be the 3 notes that are involved, but from the perspective of the mixolydian, those would be the 3 nodal points. But in my, and again, I'm not a scholar of music. Like I didn't go to music school or anything, so I can't say this from like like this is the way the music people like all the greats thought about it. I don't know, right? I don't have that background, but I've kind of like analyzed the fretboard a bit here and it seems to me that that what the blues seems to be doing is it's saying I'm not going to do the so much staying in the same key thing as I'm going to stay parallel. I want all my shapes to be parallel, right? Meaning, so that means so it seems like it's more like I'm going to be switching it would be like I'm switching the entire shape of the guitar up every time I do a switch, because I'm not playing something else because I'm not going from like I'm not going from like the Ionian to the like if I was playing from the perspective of like A major, you would think you'd think you'd be going from an Ionian, but it has a major 7, and then you would be going to the Lydian and the mixolydian, and the Lydian has a major 7, but the mixolydian has a minor 7, right? And then, but that's not really what's happening, because what's happening is we're saying, no, I'm going to go basically from mixolydian to mixolydian to mixolydian, meaning I'm going to basically have a minor 7 all the way across. which means if you think about that shape-wise, that would mean that you're actually changing the key signature in your mind, right? Most people don't think that way, but that's what's kind of happening because you're doing an exact mirror of what's happening instead of compensating as you do the chord shifts to the changes, which in particular, when playing a 4-note chord, is the 7th, right? That's going to be the flavor. So if I think about it that way, I think that's useful because then you can kind of consciously try to figure out new things you might want to do with it, right? So then I can say, okay, well, if I accept that as the premise, and you may or may not accept that, but if I think that's the way it is, which I do, then I can analyze it from the perspective of here, and then so when I move to the next one, I'm not really staying in the same shape. I can kind of analyze it from the same shape, but really I would think of it as like I'm moving. One way you could think of it is I'm moving to D Mixolydian, right? So I have that over here. That's the collection of notes around the key of G, and I have it down. And then here's this one too. I have it in the collection of notes around the key of G. Has an E Mixolydian. So has a D Mixolydian. So now that 5 node is on the D. So now I can analyze this whole shape from the perspective of the D Mixolydian, right? And then I can do a chord shape, and then the next one is going to be an E, right? So then I can do the whole thing and switch over here to E Mixolydian. So that's why, like, a lot of people kind of say the blues kind of progression is simple because they're saying all you do is do this little trick here, right? You do this pentatonic, and then you tweak the pentatonic on this position, and that's cool to do, but that's all heuristics, right? So you're going to end up learning routines that you can't really break out of because you're not really thinking of the big picture thing. You're learning the shapes, you know. So it's kind of cool to learn the shape and be able to visualize the shape and then move the shape. So I can play the exact same thing from each of these notes, right? Each of those notes I play parallel constructions, right, like this. Right, so that I can practice doing that, but when I go here, I'm not in the same collection of notes when I play this position, right? Because what I'm doing is switching. I'm really switching keys to play something parallel, but it's not in the same collection of notes. Now, if you were going to analyze that, like if I wanted to really break that down and see, well, how can I kind of deviate the pattern in interesting ways? Well, then it'd be useful to think of it like, okay, well, maybe I can think of it as though I'm going either from a major, A major, but I'm flattening the 7, or A Mixolydian, right? Or you can say it's A minor, but I'm sharping the 3rd, right? And then I'm going to D, either Mixolydian, which already has a flat 7, or you can think of it as C major, that you're gonna flat the 7, or you can think of it as D minor, where you're going to sharp the 3rd, right? And then you're going to E, which you could think of it as E major flatting the 7, or E Mixolydian, which already has a flat 7, or E minor, and you're gonna sharp the 3rd, right? You see how kind of so it seems to me you should be able to view it either one of those ways or in combination between those ways, and then come up with different variations on the pattern as you select different notes and just kind of tinker around with it from there. So basically, last time I looked at it from, so again, this may not, this may not be what, I'm kind of just, anyways. So then I'm thinking that, we did that from the perspective of the Aeolian, of the Mixolydian. So now I'm thinking, let's look at it from the perspective of the minor. So I'm going to do the same pattern, but this time I'm going to think of it as the minor. So from the perspective of the minor, I have the 6 is the A. So when I'm on the A, it's the 6, and and then I'm gonna think, and then I can do that same pattern, but see, notice what happens here when I do the pattern is the third related to the six is six is going to be 6 7 1 two note away. It's going to be two modal half steps, which is the third scale degree, is now here, right? So we have the third scale degree here, whereas if I looked at it from this pattern, it's out here. So the third scale degree from the 5, 5 6 7, which is two modal half steps plus 1 would be the third scale degree, is out here. So from this perspective, from this A, which is now a mixolydian, if I'm looking at it from that perspective, the third of that is out here. And if I'm on this one, the third of the aeolian is here. It's tight. It's in a bit, right? So why does that matter? Because if I think of it from the minor, basically I can think of the same pattern and then push the third out, right? So now I'm just going to say, well, now I'm going to visualize it in this collection of notes. Maybe I just know this better, and then I locate that third, which is possibly more what people do. Because remember what people do typically, like normal way people teach like a blues pattern is normally like pentatonic scale, looks like this, right? Boom, 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 and then boom, and then boom. So right, that's one pass through the pentatonic. So, and notice when you use the pentatonic, you're kind of playing a minor, right? Because I'm kind of in the, I'm kind of playing off over the aeolian node if that's where I start at. And notice we skip the 7 and the 4. So which is the Locrian and the Lydian. So which I skip the Locrian and the Lydian. So I'm not gonna. So you could count it from scale degrees, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. But I want to keep the numbers the same, right? So I'm going to say it's going to be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because then I know when I go to the pentatonic, I always drop the same 2. I'm going to drop the 7 and the nodal point 7 and nodal point 4, right? So that's what you're kind of playing. You're kind of playing a minor thing over the major, right? And you're dropping 2 of the notes that might be problematic. So let me just think, like, what would be the difference between this and like if I played it from here, where now the 5 is the aeolian is the mixolydian. Just to analyze this real quick, we're going to say so the pattern would be so copy, paste, and then boom, paste, and boom, and paste. Now, if I did this with a scale counting, I would have to make, once again, this the 1, right? It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. But I don't want to do that. I want to keep it at the 5, because I'm thinking of it as my tonic. My tonic is 5, right? And I could just still count through it nice and easy, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So it's pretty easy to go around. When you get to 7, you go back to 1, right? So it's not like, well, you can't do that because the scales, you have to start at 1 and then go to, no, you don't. It's pretty easy to just go around in a circle. It's not that difficult. But anyway, if I think about, if I go to the next one over, this one is 1 modal whole step, which is 2 modal half steps away, right? We have the same here. We have this, if we did the full pattern, let me copy this and paste it here. If we do the full pattern, boom, it's right there, and boom, it's right there. So the next note is going to be still 2 notes away. So it'd be, you can call it a major second, right? And then if I go to the next one, this one's going to be out here. That's the weird one. Whereas here we can go here or we can go here, right? That's the same. And that would be 2 modal whole steps up, right? 2 modal whole steps up. and it would be +1 would be the third scale degree. So, but this one is 3 half steps away instead of this one is 4. So I could go here, or you could go on the same string up here if you wanted to, right? So that's going to be the major difference between them. And so if I think of myself as in A minor, then what am I going to do with that one? I'm going to shift it out, right? So I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to be like, that's right. But if I'm thinking of myself in this one, I could still think that way and say, well, here's a 7 out here. Maybe I play that one. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to then shift in. I'm going to drop it down 1 and still shift it out. So it's just 2 ways to think. I'm doing the same thing. It's just that I'm kind of thinking, oh, that nodal point 7, I'm going to slur it, right? And over here, I'm thinking, oh, now it's the nodal point. Nodal point 1, I'm going to slur it, right? Which is the third of the root, which is either a minor or a major. So then, and then this one is going to be 1, 2, 3 modal half steps up, which would be the 4th scale degree, and it's going to be the same under the 2, right? You have the one right underneath the here, so it's the same distance, and then you have this one, 1, 2, 3, 4 modal half steps up, which is the 5th scale degree. It's 7 notes away, so we have that same distance here. So between these two, so that's, and then this one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 modal half steps up, which is the 6th scale degree, which is weird. This is a weird one because on the Aeolian, this is 8 notes away, and over here, we go down here, you have it down here, or it would be 9. But that one is the one that's kind of removed, right? Because that's like if I was playing this minor pattern, then I would remove, that's one of the notes that I would remove as the pentatonic. So you can kind of think, well, I'm just not going to play the 9, because if you're thinking of yourself in the minor, then it would be, then you'd have a minor 9, and if you're thinking of yourself in the major, it would be major. So you can kind of play with that one, it seems to me, right? And kind of try to throw it in there and see where it works, right? And then this one is gonna, and then this one's is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 modal whole steps, which is the 7th scale degree, and that one also is the same in the Mixolydian. It wouldn't be the same if I compared it to the Ionian, but it's the same on the Mixolydian. So you can see these two patterns are pretty similar. So you can kind of think of it from either direction. It's just that the third is the most important thing. If you think of yourself as in the minor, you're going to want to sharp the third as a slur, right? Slide into the third. And if you're thinking of yourself as in Mixolydian or Ionian, Mixolydian would be closer, then you're going to want to flatten the third and slide into your third, right? That's basically, and then the 9 is kind of like, you know, what do you want to do with the 9? The 7's good either way, right? So that's going to be the idea. So now, so given that, I feel like I can look at this from the perspective of the Aeolian and still play like a major blues from it, and by slurring the third up, and then I can analyze it with a different lens from the minor lens, which will probably lead me to do different things than I otherwise would. So then I can do the A minor, and then I can go to the D minor, which is, do I have the D minor? I didn't put the D minor here. Dang it. Well, I'll go to the D. I could add it. I didn't make a D minor. Well, I can go to the D Dorian, and then I will go to the E minor, which is over here. So I can analyze it that way and do the same thing as basically I did yesterday, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's what I'll play with. All right, let me try to do a quick joke first. I made a really pretty stupid joke. I think it's like I don't know. I don't even know. But well, it's part of the routine. Got to practice. Got to practice the joke practice. So let's see what I did on this one. All right. Let's get my coffee. Quick joke intermission. Put my other glasses on. You know, language and culture have slipped a few gears when you have groupthink, that you've got groupthink that takes once smart people and assembles them into an intelligentsia with no actual intelligence included. I mean, how can you have an intelligent-less intelligentsia? You know, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. It's like a brain-free bundle pack, a Costco value-sized intellect vacuum, because a mob-minded intelligence-less intelligentsia, yeah, that's not a warning sign. That's a check engine light of civilization blinking in Morse code. Help! We've gotten so dumb, the mob is literally searching the restroom, hoping the people taking a whiz will somehow turn their dumb into wisdom, right? Because they're like, everything, the groupthink mob mentality has turned everyone dumb, and they feel like if they could just get some whiz, if they could, and they combine the whiz, like if they put the whiz together with the dumb, then they're going to convert the dumb and the whiz into wisdom. You know what I mean? But let's be honest, they're way more likely to walk out having produced nothing but a dumb dump. Okay. That's all. That wasn't my best work. I don't know, but it was because it's whiz, taking a whiz. It's like funny though, because like whiz isn't important, but everybody wants wisdom, right? And but not dumb or whiz. Dumb or whiz isn't good, but then you put them together and you have, anyway, I don't know. I wrote a song about, I feel like there's potential there, but I don't think I quite reached that potential. But that's okay. I've never heard this song before. I just plugged the joke into Suno. Let's see what, I'll give you my first impressions, as always.
You can tell our language and our culture hit a pothole in the road. When groupthink grabs the brightest minds and molds them into some Millie, just without the part that actually thinks, a fancy label wrapped around an empty box. It's like buying the mega pack of brains at Costco and finding out every one of them is just packaging a giant vacuum sealed for the intellect. And when a whole crowd with no clue calls itself the wise ones, that's not subtle. That's civilization's dashboard screaming in Morse code, SOS, somebody fix this. We've fallen so far. The mob is now digging through the restroom, praying that whoever's taking a quick little whiz might walk out so plain and light, like wisdom is hiding behind the pain. But come on, we all know how this ends. They're not walking out with wisdom or brilliance or some glowing revelation. No, they're stepping out proudly, holding the world's freshest, finest, dumb, dumb, dumb.
All right. Whatever. Not my best work. Okay. Okay. I know. I'm just. Good. All right. Let's see. Let's back to work. Back to work. All right. Let's see. Put my other glasses back. Okay. So now I'm thinking that I'm in A minor, so I can I can noodle around in this position in A minor, but I'm gonna smear that into the the third here, so that I have a major feel on it. And then if I go up here, I'm going to say, if I go up to this spot, I have this A, which normally I would play like an A minor like this. I mean, I could play, you know, the full bar chord, right? Like this. Oh, what in the world? Oh, now I lost it totally. I was trying to do that cool thing on the... Alright, no, this doesn't even look like... Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so I got this like that. That'll be out here, boom. You got this little grab handles on the bottom. This is a new feature in Excel. Seems like, not sure if I like it. So that would be the minor, but if I want to shift up the third's down here, so I can go jit and put that right there to major it. So then I could go here. So this way to play it. So if I played it that way, then I could just bring the third up once again, which is the Ionian node, right? So I'm just gonna go into the Ionian Ocean. So I'm always, whenever I see that Ionian, I'm just gonna go Ionian Ocean. So then I have this shape up here. So if I lean it this way, again, I have the third up top, which I can sharp to the Ionian Ocean. And then here's my, the seventh is there, right? So that's the same shape, by the way. If I look over here, like let's analyze this point by point, right? Like if I was to do this shape, and I think of it from the Mixolydian versus I think of it from the Aeolian, now, so over here the 5 is my root, and over there the 6 is my root. So this is Mixolydian. I'm thinking of the A as Mixolydian, and you can see there it is, right? Boom, boom, boom. Versus over here, boom, boom, boom. So if I think of myself in the A minor, I can noodle around freely in the A minor, and then sharp. Every time I see the Ionian node, which is the third, I can sharp, or I can think of it this way, and every time I see in this case, the Locrian node, because it's the third of the Mixolydian node, which I'm thinking of my center or tonic, I flatten it and slide into it. Generally, you could slide back, but normally you kind of slide into it, right? So then if I think about it this way, so then I'm like, okay, what if I do that lean forward, I have my third up top, which is this shape. But now I'm gonna smear that forward to here, and I have my 7, which is there, right? And if I think about it this way, well, now my 3rd is already there. I could smear it forward, right, between these two, and then my 7 is here, the related 7 to that nodal point 5. So if I'm thinking about it this way, right, so same thing. See if I'm still in tune here, because I changed the strings relatively recently. In tune. Okay. All right. So then I can, and if I so that's going to be the major kind of component. So I can kind of noodle around on those 2 points and think of myself. So let's find another node, like this is another root node, right? So that node is going to have a 1 on the 3rd position, which again I can slur up this way. And where's the 7 in relation to it? Well, there's one here, and there's one, you know, behind it. So I can slur that one. I can be like. let's try. If I go to the Dorian, like if I go to the next one down, I was going to go to the D minor for the parallel shape, but let's analyze, let's say, well, what if I want to cheat and I want to say, look, I want to stay on the I want to just use the same shape and make that the tonic for the Dorian, and then compare that to what I was doing before where we had the D mixolydian. So if I had the D mixolydian, so let's just do that. What's the difference between the D Dorian? What's the difference between the Dorian shape and the mixolydian shape? It's going to have a, it's the 9, right? So the 9 has a major 9, which is kind of, again, that's kind of funny, actually, now that I think about it, because you'll recall that we're removing like these two nodes, which means, I think, now that I think about it, I kind of feel like the reason that works on the pentatonic over the major is because you can sharp the third, and that works because you're going to smear that. You already have the flat 7, which is mixolydian in essence, and then you're going to, and then you just skip the 9 because you would normally have a minor 9, and that's going to clash a little bit with the mixolydian, which has a major 9. Whereas I almost think the Dorian, like if you went to the, if you just use the Dorian, then you already have a major 9. It's actually might fit because then you already have the major 9. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but like one way you can think of the blues is, it seems to me that the major is not exactly the closest key or mode to the blues. It's the mixolydian, because the mixolydian has the flat 7, which is kind of where you're leaning on more on the major side. And on the minor side, it's not really the minor key that's closest to the major blues, or that you play over the major blues or can adjust to the major blues. It's actually the Dorian, because the Dorian has all the components. You sharp the third, and then you already have the 9 is a major 9 instead of a minor 9. So I kind of feel like again, it's all confused. Like they teach it as though a major or minor, as though like you have to play the like major or minor, where I think it's actually closer. If you talked modally, it's actually closer to a Dorian and a mixolydian. That's what I feel like. That's my theory. I'm not again, I'm not a scholar on this, but that's, just looking at it, that's what I feel like is what's happening. And no one seems to say that very clearly, as I feel if that is indeed the case, the way it is, then more people need to say it properly so that we should express that anyway. So I'm going to say, all right, anyway, I'm not gonna let it bother me. I'm just saying, if someone would break it down a little bit more, maybe they'd do that. I just don't get it. But it's like, dude, I think they're saying it wrong. If they said it better, okay, whatever. So I'm gonna say that so I can do the same thing. The Dorian's the root now. So the 2 is the Dorian. So that means if it's the 2, the third of the Dorian is 2 modal whole steps up, 2, 3, 4, which would be the third scale degree, which is once again 3 notes up. So that's the smear note that I want to kind of smear from here to here. So that's going to be there. And then I have the same 7. So it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6 modal half steps up to the 1, which is the 7th scale degree, which is going to be a minor distance away, which is 10 notes away, is right there. right? So that's going to be, so you get the same pattern down here. All right. And then so that, and if I played it in the major, if I did the same thing on D major, now the Mixolydian or D Mixolydian, so now it's a 5, right? And so now the shape is here. So now from the 5, 6, 7, 2 modal whole steps from the 5, which is the 3rd scale degree, is here. Boom, that's 7, which I'm going to smear. So now the 7 is the 3rd or the 2nd modal. Whew, the second modal half step. Okay, so boom, I can smear that one. Boom, and then I have the same shape up here to there because it's 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 modal half steps plus 1 would be the 7th scale degree, which is also 10 notes away. So you get the same shape. It's just this one I'm smearing to it, whereas this one I'm smearing from what's in the key to it, and this one I'm smearing from something that's not in the key into the one that is in the key, right? So let's analyze another point between these two. So if I compare the Dorian to the Mixolydian, here's another D out here. So if I analyze that point, it's like, okay, so now I've got this shape that I like to, the lean back shape to the Dorian, which is up here like this. And then I'm going to say, okay, where's the 3rd on that shape? It's this one, because it's two modal half steps up, which is the 3rd scale degree, which I can smear in this way. And if I play that same nodal point on the Mixolydian, it would be here, right? It'd be, there's the Mixolydian, the 5 is the root now. And now this one's, and now the 5, 2 modal whole steps up from the 5 is the 7, which is 2 modal whole steps with a 3rd scale degree. So I smear into that one. So same kind of shape, right? So here I smear from the one that's in the key into the one that's out. And here, if you want to look at it this way, I smear from the one that's out of the key into the one that's in the key, right? Makes perfect sense. And then as I do that, I want to reposition my finger to pull in the 7. The 7 is always 1 behind it, by the way. So if I'm on the Dorian, instead of counting up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6 modal half steps, which is the 7th scale degree, it's the one right behind it, right? So it's 2 minus 1 is 1, right? So if the 1 is the 7th one right behind it. Okay, so anyway, so it's going to be, see, no one does this simple math would be useful if you had nodal points. It's not like we're doing, it's not like, anyway. Now the thing that's funny on the, what's the difference between the Dorian and the Aeolian? The Dorian, like if this was the Aeolian, then you'd have this, you'd have 2 bars here, nothing in between it. because position 3 would start right here, and position 2 would be back here. So that means you wouldn't have, so that means if you wanted to pick something below this one, it would be back here. Whereas then you have this wonky shape, which is kind of cool, and that's because it's the 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 modal half step. It's the fourth 3. No wait, from the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5 modal half steps, 6, right? This is that 6th away from the 2. And see, this is the major 6, 9 notes away instead of 7 notes away. So this is the one that I think actually fits more into the blues than if it was the minor, right? That's because, so you don't really need to eliminate it because I think it'll actually fit into a mixolydian more, right? So I mean, so you get that versus this minor. There's just the minor, and you add that tensiony. Kind of sounds good from a mixolydian perspective. Definitely, it has a bit of a, it's, depends how you define good, but tensiony good. Walks into the 7. That's interesting. And then that kind of walks into the 7. Is that right? Because, yeah, I guess it is. Is that the same shape over here on the, because here, I'd be here, and I still have that boom, boom right there. Pretty cool. Let's analyze this. What if I leaned forward? If I lean forward, I have the 5 there. I have my, well, let's do it over here first. If I lean forward on that D, then I have my bar shape, which would be here. There's the 5th related to it. Boom, boom. That's a minor bar shape. But the 3rd in this configuration would be here, which I would then want to move up to the major like that, to an A major shape, right? Obviously. So, and then if I did it over here on this collection of notes, if I thought about it this way, then it would be I'm on the 5, and it would be it already has an A major shape, right? Because it's a mixolydian, which is a major, and then I'd want to flat or move this one in if it was possible. It's not really easy to do that in this shape. So, but I can kind of like go from this A minor shape to then flattening the bar chord. And then, of course, I can reveal the minor 7, which is back here. All right, cool. And so what if I said, so then I can say, well, that's the lean forward shape. And then on this node, I've got a root there. So I can say, okay, if I got a root there and I'm reaching forward, then I have 2, 3, 4, 2 modal whole steps up, which is the third scale degree is up here, which I can smear to here to make it go from minor to major, 3 notes away to 4 notes away. And then I've got my 7, which is right behind it, 2 minus 1, going to the back of it, right? That 1 right there, the 1 right to the back of it, is up here. So I can do that. And if I compare that to the Mixolydian shape, if I was leaning forward, now the Mixolydian, the 5 is my root, 5, 6, 7 is the 2 modal whole step away, which is the third scale degree, is here. So I could smear back out of the key into the key. And now the one right behind the 5, 5 minus 1 is 4, which is the 6th modal whole step, which is the 7th scale degree. Same shape, it's just that I can smear into it versus the third. The third is the difference. The third is the difference. All right, so let's analyze it from this perspective. Here's my D. And then if I'm noodling on any of these nodal points, like if I'm on this nodal point, then once again the third is up here, which I can smear out here, versus over here, 5, 6, 7, 2 modal half step, third is here, so I can smear out here, right? So I can, same thing this way then, that third, I want to smear out this way, so I can kind of practice my rhythm in this area. But I want to kind of end on that third. So I'll walk it back with both thirds, but then I'll... difference here, this is kind of interesting, I hadn't noticed before, is that now I have this point right before it is that 9 again, that usually we skip, like we remove it from the pentatonic, but it's a major 9, so you get that interesting walk up from it. That's the 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 6, not the 9. It's not. It's a 9 from a scale degree. It's a 9 note away distance instead of an 8 note away distance, and that's the one we usually remove, which is from a scale degree standpoint the 6. So. I think that actually kind of sounds cool to me. I don't know, maybe I'm weird. But I kind of feel like that would fit. So the Dorian to the Mixolydian seems to be better, more logical pairing to me than to make this twangy sound the than the Aeolian to the Ionian. It's not major and minor, it's Dorian and Mixolydian, man. That's what I feel like. I don't know. That's kind of interesting because then you get this cool like double, like I can go from the minor to here and I get that 6-note distance, and then I can push both of those up and go from the major third to here and get that tension. So I get a kind of half-step walk up while having the root.
Thank